Hello, welcome to the Wildflower Magic Podcast. My name is Katie. I am your host here at Wildflower Magic Knits. And today we're going to have a pretty traditional style podcast where I'm going to talk about my finished objects and what I'm working on and then update you on just some life stuff. So if that sounds good to you, then welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. I need way more coffee before we start this, but we're just going to go because this is the time I have. I'm coming to you from Virginia, where I live with my partner Alan and our 2 giant dogs and our 2 small cats. When I started recording this, everyone was sleeping, so hopefully they stay that way. Otherwise, it gets kind of noisy in the background. And I think that's all my Oh, you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry. All the links are in the description box below. You might have to hit like open me or see more or something like that, but there should be a little down bar right below this video where you can find links to everywhere you can find me, plus all of the designers and makers that I talk about today. So let's dive in. I have to show you this mug first. So every year for my birthday, I paint myself a coffee cup. And this was mine for my birthday this year. We just got it back. The flowers go all the way around. And the little bees. I am so happy with how this turned out. This started as a tradition that I started for myself several years ago. And then Alan has incorporated it into our birthday plans, my birthday plans every year. He usually plans my birthday activities for me and we go pottery painting. So I just got this back and I'm obsessed with it. It's my favorite so far. Love it. Okay. That counts as crafting, right? Let's get into some knitting. First, I will briefly chat about what I am wearing. This is the Tea of Dreams by Claire of Perfectly Knotted. And the yarn that I used is Kim Dye's yarn. It's on her silk base. I forget what she calls it, but it's like a 50-50 merino silk blend. And the color is Lilac. So this, let me see if I can pop up a little bit here. It's pretty cropped. As you can see, my belly button is like right here. And this tee is knit in 2 rectangles. So you knit this rectangle and then this rectangle, and then you seam them up the front, the back, and both sides. The biggest modification that I did was that I added an I-cord tie to the back. I wonder if there's a good way for me to like turn around without like it being super, super awkward in my chair. So I added an I-cord tie to the back just to keep the shoulders from falling off. Hopefully you got an okay view of that. Sorry for my squeaky chair. Okay, so I had a lot of trouble the first few times I wore it of like it sliding off my shoulders really easily. And so I just popped that I-cord tie on just to keep everything on my shoulders. I loved making this. I did this on a vacation to Louisiana. Loved it. So much fun, so easy. I love that the pattern, this pattern gives you like a gauge chart so you can put in your own gauge. So you can use whatever yarn you want at whatever gauge you want the fabric to be at. And it'll tell you like how many stitches to cast on, how long to go, all of that stuff. So I loved making it. It was really fun. Highly recommend. It took just under 2 skeins of this fingering weight yarn for my size. I think I did 72 stitches on each panel to give a little bit of ease, but not like a ton. So I have like a couple inches of ease. Okay, so that's what I'm wearing. Let's get into my first finished object. It's a big one. If you follow me on Instagram, you've probably seen it. I finished my Cottage living sweater. I am so excited about this. Okay, so the Cottage living sweater is a pattern by Victoria Marchant Knits. This pattern is in testing. I believe that she's planning on releasing it in August or September. I think the original plan was September, but then she had said that the weather up where she lives in the UK is not very summery, so she's just going to release it early. So August or September, I think, is when it's going to be released. I'll post on my Instagram whenever it does come out. You guys, I'm in love. I'm in love. Okay, so start at the top. We have a folded collar. Look how neat this seam is. This is the, what does she call it? An overcast stitch, I think, to seam the collar down. And it's so neat. So we have a folded collar. This isn't a bulky weight yarn, by the way. It is a drop shoulder design. One of my favorite things about Victoria Marchant's patterns is that you choose a bust size and you choose a sleeve size. They're independent of each other. So you choose the best bust size for your fit and then the best sleeve size for your fit. And so you can make this like fit you really the way that you want it to. So we have a drop shoulder. Well, it is a drop shoulder construction, but you knit the front and the back flat and then seam them up the side. So you knit the back flat and then you knit the front flat, seam it up the sides. Here's my seam. This pattern features a high-low hem with this really chunky ribbing. So the front of the sweater is significantly shorter than the back of the sweater, which I love. This hem line is so cute. And then we pick up and we do we seam up the sides, we pick up and we do our sleeves. We do our collar, and then we add the embroidery. Isn't it so pretty? Let's get a close-up. So that's mine. I used fingering weight scraps for this. So I used 3 different colors. Obviously my purple sparkles for my flower petals. This dark green color for the leaves, and then the centers. This is, I don't know what the purple is. I'm pretty sure that this green is Sugar Plum Circus Alphaba. And then the middle is Camellia Fiber Co. Their rainbow sprinkles. So you can kind of see like there's a bright yellow and a pink. This one has some blue. I can't tell. I feel like it's kind of blurry. But it has these rainbow sprinkles all throughout the center. This was my first time doing embroidery, and it was so much fun. So much fun. I'll also put in pictures of me wearing it, like my FO pictures while I'm talking. So you can see it like on. I'm not going to put it on right now, partially because the squeaky chair of me moving around to put it on and like stand up would drive me bananas. And also, it's really hot in here. And this is a bulky weight sweater. So, this was my first time doing embroidery. And I feel like it turned out really cute. I'm really happy with it. I love how it looks. I was worried about how it was going to feel like wearing it on my chest. I don't think that I'm ever going to wear this without like a cami or something under it anyway, but I didn't notice it when I was wearing it for FO photos. I had like kind of a low cut tank top on when I was doing my FO photos, and it wasn't bothering me. So that's a good sign. The yarn that I used is Wool in the Gang Alpachino Merino in the color Cameo Rose. It's an alpaca wool blend. It's a bulky weight yarn. This pattern was so fun to make. So much fun. I used, I believe it was 807 grams of yarn, including the embroidery. Some of this finished object weighs 807 grams. And I did, what sizes did I do? Let me check. Okay, so I did the yoke size 4 and sleeve size C. I did get gauge for this, but I went down a needle size. My final bust is 48 inches, which gives me 4 inches of positive ease on my body. My arm length is 18 inches. My armhole depth, so like from, you know, this seam right here, how big my armhole is 7.5 inches. And yeah, I used 807 grams of yarn. I think that's all the details about it. There she is. Isn't she beautiful? Oh, my mini. Here she is. There's like grass in it. Where did that come from? So here's my mini. my little mini cottage living sweater with the little embroidery flower on it. I think that my mini looks pretty good. Maybe this will be my thumbnail. Yay! Okay. So that's my cottage living sweater by Victoria Marchant Knits. Keep an eye out on my Instagram or her Instagram for that release date later in the fall, early winter time. Okay. Oh, I was so excited about that sweater. Shout out to Alan for going to Barnes & Noble with me to take finished object photos. It was like 92 degrees outside that day, but the feels like temperature with the humidity was like 65% humidity, I think, and the feels like temperature was like 101 degrees. So being outside in a bulky weight sweater to take finished object photos did not sound like a great time to me. So when he got home and we were going to go outside to take pictures, I was like, maybe we should find an indoor place to go. And Barnes & Noble's, you know, definitely no ulterior motives there. It was a fun time. It's interesting taking knitwear photos like in public sometimes. Like nobody's ever said anything to me about it or like been rude about it in any way. But it's just like getting over that awkward feeling. Thankfully, Alan never feels super uncomfortable about taking photos. So his confidence and like comfortability with it kind of boosts me up a little bit. And he's becoming quite a great photographer for knitwear photos, I think. Focusing on the details. He's doing a great job. My next finished object are some Scrappy Socks. So these socks are made with random scraps that I pulled out of my scrap bin, and that is a huge accomplishment for me. I stay away from scrappy projects most of the time because I cannot usually just... I feel like a lot of the appeal of scrappy projects is just grab yarn, put it in without much consideration for how it works together with other things. Like scrappy projects, a lot of people seem to use them as like a brain break. Like we don't have to think about color theory and like how things fit together. And so it's just like a grab and go, don't care about it, just get excited for the next color kind of thing. I really struggle with that. If I do scrappy projects, I want to like have all of my scraps planned out in the color order that they're gonna go in, and then that defeats the purpose of like a brain break, right? So I was determined to not think about these colors at all, and I did not. And if I was having trouble, then Alan would pick colors for me. So I did knit these both at the same time. I knit them each on 9-inch circular needles. All of my socks are done on 9-inch circular needles except for the toe where I switched to magic loop. But I do everything else, like the heel, everything, I do all of that on 9-inch circulars. So I had 2 going, and I would do 1 stripe on one and then that same stripe on the other and just go back and forth. And that way my stripes were the same. I didn't have to keep track of the yarn. I could just use it and then put it back in the bin without having to like keep it out somewhere or come back to it later. So I would just do a stripe and then switch to the other sock and then do the next stripe and switch to the other sock and just go back and forth that way. It made them go so fast. It felt like it went really fast. Like I got these done so quickly. I did between 5 and 10 rounds per stripe. I wanted to kind of mix it up a little bit. So these shorter ones are 5 rounds. These bigger ones are 10 rounds. I did a shadow wrap short row heel. And some of it, like this one here, I believe it starts, I think it starts at this like bright blue, or maybe the stripe above it, like the row above it. Starting about here to, I think, right here. This is a self-striping yarn. I pulled a self-striping yarn. I did not think about it because I refused to think about these socks at all. And then I was like, oh, well, now what am I going to do? Because I either have to go through the whole stripe sequence, or my socks are going to match everywhere except for this one stripe. Or if I only do like the blue stripe, then I have to just rip all of this, like pull all of this yarn off, cut it, and then start here at the blue stripe too. And I didn't want to do that. That felt wasteful. I'm trying to use up scraps, not just throw them out. So I decided to just go through the whole stripe sequence. So this is a whole stripe sequence of that self-striping sock yarn. And then we switched to another color. This is like a assigned pooling yarn. And so I'm gonna flip this a little bit so that the front, I did think about this one just a little bit, just because if we look, this is the top of the sock with this red and orange and yellow pooling, and then the bottom of the sock is like mostly the gray. So I did want the colors to be on the top of the sock on both of them, so I did think about that one a little bit. And then this is also a self-striping yarn that I grabbed. It worked out. They look really cute. I'm really, really happy with them. They were so fun to make. They flew. I mean, these knit themselves. They flew off my needles. And this is my first finished pair for summer sock camp, I think. I don't think my Tiptoe Through the Tulips, I think I finished them before summer sock camp started. So these are my first finished pair for Tiptoe Through the Tulips now. For summer sock camp, this is also my first finished pair for the Pride Sock Knit Along. What's the hashtag for that? Pride Sockathon 2020, which is hosted by Covert Knits. And I have decided that every pair of socks that I finish within the month of June, so Pride Month, I'm going to donate $50 to the Trevor Project. So this was my first pair and my first donation. That's an idea I got from Covert Knits. They're doing the same thing. So yeah, they look so cute. I'm so excited about them. I love how they look. I was so worried about it. Like every time I would pick a color, I'd be like, I don't know. And then I decided just to go with it, and it looked so good. So I'm definitely excited to make more Scrappy Socks in the future. Not right now though, because now we're gonna get into whips, and I have different socks on the needles. Let me grab a blocker. Oh, I also don't think I mentioned those socks used 62 grams of yarn total, like both socks together, 62 grams. I did not measure to see how many grams of each yarn I used though. We didn't go that intense with it. So I have one sock done. The other one is cast on, but that's it. It's just cast on. These sock blockers I think are just a little bit too big, but that's okay. Okay. Here's one. Wow, that is blowing out a lot. It looks, at least on my screen, it looks neon. It's not quite neon red. It is like a really rich scarlet red, but not quite that bright. It's a little toned down. Anyways, this is my first sock. So we did red and gray stripes, and then we just did the red foot because I didn't have enough gray yarn, and a gray toe. I also did a shadow wrap short row heel for this one. This is 72 stitches because these are not for me. These are for my uncle. The last time that I spoke with you, it was the day before I left for Ohio, or like the day that I left for Ohio to go visit my family. Today is also the day before I'm leaving for Ohio because I'm going back already. My uncle, who is he's a pretty busy guy. He has not been able to go back to Ohio to visit for quite a long time. I've been out to see him more recently, but he has not been back to Ohio. So he texted us and said that he was gonna go back to Ohio for a weekend to visit. So my mom and I are gonna go back up. It's just gonna be us. My dad, my sister can't go. Alan can't go. So it's just gonna be me and my mom going up to see him for a couple days. And I've never gifted him anything knitted, so I thought that I would make him some Ohio State Buckeye socks, hence the scarlet and gray yarns. I used both of these yarns a while ago to make my grandpa scarlet and gray Ohio State socks. So I thought I would add that, and then I just wanted to kind of spruce it up with some stripes. I'm not sure that I'm a huge fan of the stripes, but it's too late to pull it out, so we're going with it. I have the other one cast on. It's just cast on. Like, we've barely even joined in the round. I think I've done like 3 stitches. Yeah, 4 stitches. These are being held in my matching bag. Aren't they cute? This bag is by Cottontail Farms. I mess their name up every single time. Cottontail Farms. I got this at Maryland Sheep and Wool in May. I love the little bunny and the mushrooms and the fox. They're so cute. That little raccoon is cute too. Here are the yarns in skein form. Or ball form, I guess. This is Schmutzerella's. I got this years ago. I don't know if it's still available. It's on the fingering weight sweet sock base. And I don't see... Oh, there it is. Miss Scarlet. And this yarn is a complete mystery. I have no idea what it is, and I have no idea where it came from, because I looked through my Ravelry projects and I can't find a project that used this. The yarn that I used for my grandpa's socks was a different yarn that I used somewhere else that was also by Schmutzerella, and it was called Mrs. White, but it was like a gray, like a variegated tonal gray. I don't know what this is. I'm really hoping it's superwash and nylon. We're gambling a little bit here because I'm not positive what this is. Hopefully it's not like a silk. It kind of feels silky, but when I can't think of what I would have used a gray silk yarn for. I don't know, but it's what we're using, so that's all we've got. I am leaving tomorrow to go to Ohio. My uncle's not coming in until Friday, so is tomorrow Friday? Tomorrow is Friday. I am leaving tomorrow morning. He's coming in tomorrow evening. So I have all day today and the plane ride, which is only like an hour, and then I'll have all weekend to finish them. Chances are I'm just going to end up wrapping up this sock and the other, however much I get done, before he gets into town. And then being like, now you get to sit here and watch me work on it all weekend in hopes that I get it done before you leave. Okay, so I believe that's all. Oh, I have one more sock project that I want to talk about. This is a cast on that I started right before I decided I was going to rush to make shad socks. So, here is the yarn. It's a gradient. This is by Knit Circus, and it is A Wizard Is Never Late, so it's based on Lord of the Rings, Gandalf. And it's a gradient. So these come in I believe it's 250 gram. Nope, there's 75 grams total. So 2 cakes of 150 yards. So I was actually, to be honest with you, I bought this a while ago to make socks for Shad. That was my intention. And then I'm not 100% positive that he's gonna really like socks. So I'm gonna give him these Ohio State ones because he'll love anything Ohio State, and he can at least wear them on game days. And then he can wear them for a little bit and see if he actually likes how they feel and how they fit and everything before I make him another pair. I'm just gonna work on these for myself, I guess. Or maybe Alan. I don't know. Probably for me though. And I'm honestly, this is 75 grams total. Let's see how much this sock weighs. I have my scale right here. Oh, this sock only weighs 40 grams. So this sock only weighs 40 grams. So I would be cutting it really close, right? Because 40 times 2 is 80, and this is only these are only 75 like together. So I might not be able to make him socks unless I used a contrasting cuff or toe anyways. So I'll just keep them for myself. Okay, so I think that's all the knitting. I have my stolen silver spoons, but I don't think I've made much, if any, progress since last time I chatted with you. I don't remember where I was, but I don't think I really knit on it very much in Ohio. I finished the first sleeve. Stolen Silver Spoons is, if you have not watched my last podcast, is a test knit that I'm doing for Nicole of Common Thread Fiber. It is a compound raglan with a really cute lace raglan detail. Very, very cute. The body is on hold until I get the sleeves and the neckband done. I finished one sleeve, and then I've kind of put it down. I haven't really worked on it very much right now. So there's not really much progress to show you there. And I think that's everything. Oh, I have the affinity socks for Alan that I have not finished yet either. But I don't think I worked on those since last time I talked to you either. So, what's next? Oh, I want to show you Kristen of Paper Knits. I believe her name is Paper Knits here on YouTube. I have been watching her since she first started her podcast like a year ago, right around the same time that I started mine. And she just celebrated her podiversary, which means it's also my podiversary. I think it was like May, the beginning of May was when I started my podcast last year. So she did a giveaway for her 1-year anniversary, and I won. And she sent me the most gorgeous sock set from Rose Hill Yarn. It's in the color Frolic. So it's this gorgeous full skein. This is 100 grams, and then these are each 20-gram skeins. So I need to find something really cool to do with this. It's so gorgeous. I love these colors together. Beautiful. And she also sent me, this is the cutest thing. This is from, oh, I have to sneeze. Excuse me. This is from Nadia. I'm not gonna try, because that would not go well. That's her name. She is, Kristen is in Canada, and so these are both local to her, I believe is what she said. This is at least local to her. She's a felt designer, and look how gorgeous this felt scene is. How do I hold this? Look how beautiful that is. I'm obsessed with this. I am obsessed with this. I had it on my refrigerator, but then I decided I wanted it to be closer to me, so I think I'm gonna fix it up somewhere next to my craft space, because this is just, like, are there any other Blue's Clues fans out there? I want to just blue skidoo into this scene right now.
There goes Blue. Blue skidoo, we can too.
Love, love. So I was so excited to receive this in the mail this week. I don't have the best luck with giveaways, so that was really exciting. I feel like that's most of my life stuff. I talked about my mug. I'm going to Ohio again. My last Ohio trip was beautiful. Beautiful. The dogs did so well. They did great on the road trip. They were so well behaved at Grandma's house. Grandma and Aurora are best friends. I have so many cute photos of Grandma laying on the floor to hang out with Aurora. It's the first time they met. She's met Vader multiple times, but it was the first time she met Aurora. They were so well behaved. They did great with my grandma's cats. My grandma's cats were really unsure about the dogs, and my dogs were so respectful of their space and made them really comfortable. So by the end of the trip, they could like hang out in the same room, and the cats were fine with it. So I was so proud of them for that. And Vader is, how old is he? I got him in 2017. Vader will be 7 this month, next month. He'll be 7. And never has he ever not pulled on his leash like he was channeling his ancestral sled dogs to get somewhere. That dog's heel, his heel is perfect. If I have him off leash and we're hiking somewhere that's acceptable, or like on, like, you know, when we're out and about in the middle of nowhere and I have him off leash or whatever, he heels beautifully. Beautifully. His recall, perfect. He will stop mid-chase to come back if I call him. So well behaved. On leash, though, he channels the sled dogs of his bloodline and just goes. I have had multiple trainers. I'm a behaviorist for people, but like a lot of it translates pretty easily. So I've done all of their training, but I had multiple trainers come in and try to help get his leash walking under control. Never has it ever happened. On this trip, out of nowhere, like it just clicked. He did not pull on his leash at all. I was floored. Like, I was so blown away because we have tried everything. Like, multiple different types of reinforcement during walks, food on walks, like where I was holding the food to try to get him to like walk next to me. I tried prong collars for like a second, hated them, took them off. Usually he has an easy lead that goes over his muzzle so that he still pulls, but he can't pull as hard. Because he's also a very big dog and he's very strong. So if he like takes off, like you gotta like work to keep him reined in. And so we just wanted to make it like, honestly, I just kind of gave up on him walking super well and just wanted to make it easier on me to manage him when he does pull. But we forgot his easy lead, so I was a little bit worried about him being on leash because he has a harness. I was a little bit worried about him just being on his harness, but he did so beautifully, did not pull at all. I was so shocked. So, like, I don't know what happened. It just clicked for some reason, and he just doesn't pull anymore, I guess. Knock on wood. We'll see. But he was so good. I was so excited about it because I was a little nervous with having my 2 giant dogs, plus the cats, plus all the people in my grandma's not super big house, but they were so, so good. So excited. I will not be bringing them with me this time because Alan will be home. I am flying, though. So my days of doing, you know, driving 10 hours there and 10 hours back in a weekend is kind of over unless I have Alan to help share the drive. But doing it on my own is just not fun anymore. So I will be doing the 1-hour plane ride instead. So yeah, we got to go to my very close family friend's graduation, which was great. Got to see my grandparents. So we had a really good time. I'm really excited to go see my uncle. I haven't seen him in a few years, and it's been like 4 years since I've seen him in person. So I'm really excited to go see him, and it should be a really fun weekend. Other life stuff. I don't really have much other life stuff, I guess. But reading and watching, I have not watched anything. But reading, I have been reading a lot. I finished several books, so let me pull them up really quick so we can chat about them. I was not expecting this episode to be this long, to be honest with you. Okay, so last time we chatted, I was in the middle of reading The Raven and the Sea, I believe. I think that's where I left you last time. So I read The Raven and the Sea by Stacey Reynolds. It's book 1 of the O'Brien Tales. I didn't love it. I think I rated it like 2.5 stars. I loved the idea of like a really cute romance on the Irish coastline. Like, the descriptions of Ireland were gorgeous. The odes to like all the characters being very musical was really nice, but it's like a enemies to lovers romance, which was fine. I didn't mind that part, but the banter between the characters was really repetitive. Like, it was just the same conversation over and over again. And it was a multi-point of view story, which was great, except that also got kind of repetitive because the author would do the point of view for both characters for a lot of events, and so you heard the event twice. And I didn't feel like it really added that much perspective to the event or anything like that. I liked, there's a lot of grief in this book and like loneliness, and I really like the main character's parents pass away, and so her going through her grief journey is really great. However, towards the end of the book, when the spicy scenes happen, it all of a sudden gets really Catholic preachy, which is not my vibe at all. Like, no shade to that, but like I was not expecting sex scene, Catholic preachy scene, sex scene, Catholic preachy scene. Like, I did not like that. And then also it was like a lot of characters describing things instead of the author like showing those things. I felt like the male main character was very childish and very tantrumy, and I did not vibe with that. And there was just the focus on a woman's purity was really gross. Didn't like that. Like, the whole town knew, and it was just very like fetishized, and I wasn't a fan. So I did not like that book very much. I would not read the second one, and I would not recommend it, which was disappointing. I actually had a couple not great reads going on. The book that I read after that was Hooked on You, which a yarn store in like a small town is a big location of that book, which I loved. I was so excited about that. And I actually found this series on accident because I found the second book in the series, which is Much Ado About a Latte, so I found that book, and then I realized that it was the sequel, so I went back to find the first one, and the first one is Hooked on You, and it takes place in a very small town in Alabama, and there's like a local yarn store, and this woman runs the yarn store. She's 72, and she plays softball for her church league, and she slides into third place and breaks her leg, so her granddaughter has to come back from New York to help take care of the store and help take care of her until she heals. And so it's that very typical, like, Hallmarky, go back to your small town, run into your high school crush, and all that stuff. It was cute. I rated it 3.5 stars. Mostly, it was a really quick and easy read. It was a happy ever after, which I really liked. And this is a series that all follows, there's like a group of 4 friends, and each book in the series follows a different friend and her like story, which I really like those kinds of books, so I was really excited about that. But there's a lot of fat shaming in that story, so a lot of like, she'll eat a dessert or like a normal portion of food, and then, oh, I'll have to run this off later. And every time she describes herself, it's all about how she's gained so much weight since she graduated high school and became an adult and like went off to college and stuff. And look, I don't like that at all, and it was not necessary to the story in any way, shape, or form. There was no like healing around it, like nothing. It was not relevant at all, so definitely could have been left out and not, have a really petite, athletically built, I hate that phrase too, but like small, petite runner describing herself as having to go for a run after every time she eats is just gross. And then the true to Hallmark movie style, the healing and the character growth all happened in the last like 3 chapters. So it was like, same problem, light switch moment, had a heart-to-heart with your friend, and now all of a sudden everything's better and everything's great and we're gonna live happily ever after, and I no longer deal with any of the trauma that I grew up with. But it's a cute story. Like, you're not supposed to think too much in these stories, right? So it was cute. I did read the second one, and then I stopped after the second one. So the second one is Much Ado About a Latte, and I ended up deciding after that I did not want to read any more of the stories. I gave it 3 stars. I feel like this is me just harping on these books. There is a really good review coming up soon. The fat shaming is not as much. I believe there was only like one fat shaming comment that was like oh, I'm gonna have to run this off later, or like I didn't work out enough to eat this many calories, and it was from the main male character. But there was a lot of slut shaming in this book, like women wearing low cut things, and the slut shaming is by like the modesty standards of a southern Christian Alabama town. If you know, you know. Like, very conservative, if your tops, like, I would be, this was the vibe that I got when they were describing the character that they were slut shaming. So, you know, whatever. I did decide to go ahead and just end after the series, just because I wasn't really liking the characters anymore. I wasn't liking all of these little, like, quips that were coming out that were, like, insulting people. Just not my vibe. So I did quit after that one. And then I read a book that I'm obsessed with. It is called The House Witch, and it is a series. I am currently in the second one. Obsessed. 5-star read. Absolutely love this book. Highly recommend. The magic system in this world is so interesting. It's a fantasy. It's kind of cozy fantasy vibes, but there are some like high stakes things that are happening. They're just happening more in the background of like the character development and the day-to-day interactions. Big on found family. Big on like I've been burned before. I have to relearn how to trust people. Very slow burn romance. No spice. Yeah, very interesting magic system that I'm obsessed with. Love it. So I'm on the second one, and I'm obsessed. They're so fun. The characters are hilarious. They're so snarky. There's so much banter going back and forth. It's so good. There is a familiar in the book named Kraken, and Kraken is the best character. That's all I'm going to say. The best character. If you can get this on the audiobook on Audible, I recommend, because the narrator, the voice that the narrator does for all the different characters is really, really good. But also, Kraken, this isn't a spoiler, Kraken gets his own point of view as he kind of grows up from being a little baby to like a grown-up familiar. And Kraken's on the front cover, so it's not really a spoiler. Kraken is a cat, and when he starts to grow up, he starts to get his own point of view moments. And the voice that the narrator does on the Audible version is hilarious. It's so funny, especially in contrast to all the other character voices. Like, everybody is like British, like Old English kind of vibes, and then Kraken sounds like Eddie Murphy. Like it's so funny. Okay, I think that's everything that I've been reading. I spent a lot of time on that. Usually I don't spend very much time on that, but I don't know, I was kind of in like a funk about reading because of like several books in a row that I was just like, ugh, like I wish this was good, but like, ugh, I don't know. I'm about to start The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, because on the thread, which Nicole of Common Thread Fiber hosts, it's a Discord server, we have a book club, and we're doing Song of Achilles for the book club. So I'm going to start that soon, because we are going to meet, we're not meeting until a little bit later, but I want to get some like halfway points going, so that didn't make sense. I am running the book club, and so I want to have some like halfway question, like discussion questions, so I need to actually read the book for that to happen. So I'm going to start that soon. Yeah, I'm going to hop off here and go work on as much of this red and gray sock as I possibly can, so that I can have it done by the end of the weekend, so that I can make sure I can give them to their new home before I come back on Monday. Thanks for hanging out with me. This was like, I think, the longest episode I've ever had. I mean, I'm going to cut some stuff out, but I think this is like the longest episode to date, which is so interesting. I didn't think I had that much to talk about when I sat down, but apparently I did. Thank you for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll catch you next time. Happy crafting!